conditions d'existence devant entraîner sa destruction physique totale ou partielle, et D. Mesures visant à entraver les naissances au sein du groupe. Pour Madame Donoghue, présidente, Monsieur Gevorgyan, vice-président, Messieurs Tomka, Abraham, Benouna, Youssouf, Madame Choué, Messieurs Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Madame Charlesworth, Monsieur Brand, juge, Monsieur Moseneke, juge ad hoc. Contre, Madame Sebutinde, juge, Monsieur Barak, juge ad hoc. 2. Par 15 voix contre 2, l'État d'Israël doit veiller avec effet immédiat à ce que son armée ne commette aucun des actes visés au point 1 ci-dessus. Pour Madame Donoghue, présidente, Monsieur Gevorgyan, vice-président, Messieurs Tomka, Abraham, Benouna, Youssouf, Madame Choué, Messieurs Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Madame Charlesworth, Monsieur Brand, juge, Monsieur Moseneke, juge ad hoc. Contre, Madame Sebutinde, des juges, Monsieur Barak, juge ad hoc. 3. Par 16 voix contre 1, l'État d'Israël doit prendre toutes les mesures en son pouvoir pour prévenir et punir l'incitation directe et publique à commettre le génocide à l'encontre des membres du groupe des Palestiniens de la bande de Gaza. Pour Madame Donoghue, présidente, Monsieur Gevorgyan, vice-président, Messieurs Tomka, Abraham, Benouna, Youssouf, Madame Choué, Messieurs Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Madame Charlesworth, Monsieur Brand, juge, Messieurs Barak, Moseneke, juge ad hoc, contre Madame Sebutinde, juge. 4. Par 16 voix contre 1, l'État d'Israël doit prendre sans délai des mesures effectives pour permettre la fourniture des services de base et de l'aide humanitaire requis de toute urgence afin de remédier aux difficiles conditions d'existence auxquelles sont soumis les Palestiniens de la bande de Gaza. Pour Madame Donoghue, présidente, Monsieur Gevorgyan, vice-président, Messieurs Tomka, Abraham, Benouna, Youssouf, Madame Choué, Messieurs Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Madame Charlesworth, Monsieur Brand, juge, Messieurs Barak, Moseneke, juge ad hoc. Contre, Madame Sebutinde, juge. 5. Par 15 voix contre 2, l'État d'Israël doit prendre des mesures effectives pour prévenir la destruction et assurer la conservation des éléments de preuve relatifs aux allégations d'actes entrant dans le champ d'application des articles 2 et 3 de la Convention pour la prévention et la répression du crime de génocide commis contre les membres du groupe des Palestiniens de la bande de Gaza. Pour Madame Donoghue, présidente, Monsieur Gevorgyan, vice-président, Messieurs Tomka, Abraham, Benouna, Youssouf, Madame Choué, Messieurs Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Madame Charlesworth, Monsieur Brand, juge, Monsieur Moseneke, juge ad hoc, contre, Madame Sebutinde, juge, Monsieur Barak, juge ad hoc. 6. Par 15 voix contre 2, l'État d'Israël doit soumettre à la Cour un rapport sur l'ensemble des mesures qu'il aura prises pour donner effet à la présente ordonnance dans un délai d'1 mois à compter de la date de celle-ci. Pour Madame Donoghue, présidente, Monsieur Gevorgyan, vice-président, Messieurs Tomka, Abraham, Benouna, Youssouf, Madame Choué, Messieurs Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Madame Charlesworth, Monsieur Brand, juge, Monsieur Moseneke, juge ad hoc. Contre, Madame Sebutinde, juge, Monsieur Barak, juge ad hoc.
Judge Choué appends a declaration to the order of the court. Judge Sebutinde appends a dissenting opinion to the order of the court. Judges Bandari and Nolte append declarations to the order of the court. Judge ad hoc Barak appends a separate opinion to the order of the court. The text of the court will be available from today in typescript. It will be available shortly on the court's website. The printed text will be available in due course. As the court has no further business before it today, I declare the sitting closed.
That's the one that deals with individuals. Remember, there's a case out, an arrest warrant out for Vladimir Putin with regard to the war in Ukraine from the International Criminal Court. I think it's interesting if this court still
You definitely have to mention it because the judges have just taken this. It will take you to inside the International Court of Justice in The Hague, where the judges are about to read out their criminal report of this case to South Africa. It's
and punishment of the crime of genocide in the Gaza Strip, South Africa versus Israel. Judge Robinson, who duly participated in both the deliberation and the final vote, is, for reasons made known to Israel, concerning alleged violations in the Gaza Strip of obligations under the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, to which I shall refer as the Genocide Convention or the Convention. The application of South Africa contained a request for the indication of provisional measures submitted with reference to Article 41 of the statute and to Articles 73, 74, and 75 of the Rules of Court. In accordance with the usual practice, I shall not read the introductory paragraphs of the order which set out the procedural history of the case. I shall also omit or summarize some other paragraphs. I shall therefore begin the reading of the order at paragraph 13. In the order, the court begins by recalling the immediate context in which the present case came before it. It observes that on 7 October 2023, Hamas and other armed groups present in the Gaza Strip carried out an attack in Israel, killing more than 1,200 persons, injuring thousands, and abducting some 240 people, many of whom continue to be held hostage. Following this attack, Israel launched a large-scale military operation in Gaza by land, air, and sea, which is causing massive civilian casualties, extensive destruction of civilian infrastructure, and the displacement of the overwhelming majority of the population in Gaza. The court is acutely aware of the extent of the human tragedy that is unfolding in the region and is deeply concerned about the continuing loss of life and human suffering. The ongoing conflict in Gaza has been addressed in the framework of several organs and specialized agencies of the United Nations. In particular, reservations have been adopted by the General Assembly and the Security Council of the United Nations, referring to many aspects of the conflict. The scope of the present case submitted to the court, however, is limited, as South Africa has instituted these proceedings under the Genocide Convention. The court then turns to the conditions needed to be fulfilled in order for it to indicate provisional measures. With respect to the question of prima facie jurisdiction, the court observes that it may indicate provisional measures only if the provisions relied on by the applicant appear prima facie to afford a basis on which its jurisdiction could be founded, but it need not satisfy itself in a definitive manner that it has jurisdiction as regards the merits of the case. In the present case, South Africa seeks to found the jurisdiction of the court on Article 36, Paragraph 1 of the Statute of the Court and on Article 9 of the Genocide Convention. The court must therefore first determine whether those provisions prima facie confer upon it jurisdiction to rule on the merits of the case, enabling it, if the other necessary conditions are fulfilled, to indicate provisional measures. Article 9 of the Genocide Convention provides, I quote, disputes between the contracting parties relating to the interpretation, application, or fulfillment of the present convention, including those relating to the responsibility of a state for genocide or for any of the other acts enumerated in Article 3, shall be submitted to the International Court of Justice at the request of any of the parties to the dispute." End of quote. South Africa and Israel are both parties to the Genocide Convention, and neither of them has entered a reservation to Article 9 or any other provision of the Convention. The court then recalls that Article 9 of the Genocide Convention makes its jurisdiction conditional on the existence of a dispute relating to the interpretation, application, or fulfillment of the Convention. A dispute is a disagreement on a point of law or fact, a conflict of legal views or of interest between parties. In order for a dispute to exist, it must be shown that the claim of one party is positively opposed by the other. The two sides must hold clearly opposite views concerning the question of the performance or non-performance of certain international obligations. To determine whether a dispute exists in the present case, the court cannot limit itself to noting that one of the parties maintains the convention applies while the other denies it. Since South Africa has invoked as a basis for the court's jurisdiction the compromissory clause of the Genocide Convention, the court must also ascertain at the present stage of the proceedings whether it appears that the acts and omissions complained of by the applicant are capable of falling within the scope of that convention, ratio materiae. The court recalls that for purposes of deciding whether a dispute existed between the parties at the time of the filing of the application, it takes into account, in particular, any statements or documents exchanged between the parties, as well as any exchanges made in multilateral settings. In so doing, it pays special attention to the author of the statement or document, its intended or actual addressee, and its content. The existence of a dispute is a matter for objective determination by the court. It is a matter of substance, not a question of form or procedure. The court notes that South Africa issued public statements in various multilateral and bilateral settings in which it expressed its view that, in light of the nature, scope, and extent of Israel's military operations in Gaza, Israel's actions amounted to violations of its obligations under the Genocide Convention. For instance, at the resumed 10th Emergency Special Session of the United Nations General Assembly on 12 December 2023, at which Israel was represented, the South African representative to the United Nations stated that, I quote, "The events of the past 6 weeks in Gaza have illustrated that Israel is acting contrary to its obligations in terms of the Genocide Convention." End of quote. South Africa recalled this statement in its note verbal of 21 December 2023 to the Embassy of Israel in Pretoria. The court notes that Israel dismissed any accusation of genocide in the context of the conflict in Gaza in a document published by the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs on 6 December 2023, which was subsequently updated and reproduced on the website of the Israel Defense Forces on 15 December 2023 under the title, "The War Against Hamas, Answering Your Most Pressing Questions," stating that, I quote, "The accusation of genocide against Israel is not only wholly unfounded as a matter of fact and law, it is morally repugnant," end of quote. In the document, Israel also stated that, I quote, "The accusation of genocide is not just legally and factually incoherent, it is obscene, and that there was no valid basis in fact or law for the outrageous charge of genocide," end of quote. In light of the foregoing, the court considers that the parties appear to hold clearly opposite views as to whether certain acts or omissions allegedly committed by Israel in Gaza amount to violations by the latter of its obligations under the Genocide Convention. The court finds that the aforementioned elements are sufficient at this stage to establish prima facie the existence of a dispute between the parties relating to the interpretation, application, or fulfillment of the Genocide Convention. As to whether the acts and omissions complained of by the applicant appear to be capable of falling within the provisions of the Genocide Convention, The court recalls that South Africa considers Israel to be responsible for committing genocide in Gaza and for failing to prevent and punish genocidal acts. South Africa contends that Israel has also violated other obligations under the Genocide Convention, including those concerning conspiracy to commit genocide, direct and public incitement to genocide, attempted genocide, and complicity in genocide. At the present stage of the proceedings, the court is not required to ascertain whether any violations of Israel's obligations under the Genocide Convention have occurred. Such a finding could only be made by the court at the stage of the examination of the merits of the present case. At the stage of making an order on the request for an indication of provisional measures, the court's task is to establish whether the acts and omissions complained of by the applicant appear to be capable of falling within the provisions of the Genocide Convention. In the court's view, at least some of the acts and omissions alleged by South Africa to have been committed by Israel in Gaza appear to be capable of falling within the provisions of the convention. In light of the following, the court concludes that prima facie, it has jurisdiction pursuant to Article 9 of the convention to entertain the case. Given this conclusion, the court considers that it cannot accede to Israel's request that the case be removed from the general list. The court turns next to the question of standing of South Africa. Court notes that the respondent did not challenge the standing of the applicant in the present proceedings. In the case concerning application of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, the Gambia v. Myanmar, where Article 9 of the Genocide Convention was also invoked, the court observed that all states parties to the convention have a common interest to ensure the prevention, suppression, and punishment of genocide by committing themselves to fulfilling the obligations contained in the convention. Such common interest implies that the obligations in question are owed by any state party to all the other state parties to the relevant convention. They are obligations erga omnes partes, in the sense that each state party has an interest in compliance with them in any given case. The common interest in compliance with the relevant obligations under the Genocide Convention entails that any state party, without distinction, is entitled to invoke the responsibility of another state party for an alleged breach of its obligations erga omnes partes. Accordingly, the court found that any state party to the Genocide Convention may invoke the responsibility of another state party, including through the institution of proceedings before the court, with a view to determining the alleged failure to comply with its obligations erga omnes partes under the convention and to bringing the failure to the end. The court concludes prima facie that South Africa has standing to submit to it the dispute with Israel concerning alleged violations of obligations under the Genocide Convention. The court then turns to the question of the rights whose protection is sought and the link between such rights and the measures requested. It recalls that its power to indicate provisional measures under Article 41 of the statute has as its object the preservation of the respective rights claimed by the parties in a case, pending its decision on the merits thereof. It follows that the court must be concerned to preserve by such measures the rights which may subsequently be adjudged by it to belong to either party. Therefore, the court may exercise this power only if it is satisfied that the rights asserted by the party requesting such measures are at least plausible. At this stage of the proceedings, however, the court is not called upon to determine definitively whether the rights which South Africa wishes to seek protected exist. It need only decide whether the rights claimed by South Africa and for which it seeks protection are plausible. Moreover, a link must exist between the rights whose protection is sought and the provisional measures being requested. The court recalls that in accordance with Article 1 of the Convention, all states parties thereto have undertaken to prevent and to punish the crime of genocide. Article 2 provides that, I quote, genocide means any of the following acts committed with an intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such. A, killing members of the group, B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, D, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, E, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. End of quote. Pursuant to Article 3 of the Genocide Convention, the following acts are also prohibited by the Convention: conspiracy to commit genocide, direct and public incitement to commit genocide, attempt to commit genocide, and complicity in genocide. The provisions of the Convention are intended to protect the members of a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group from acts of genocide or any other punishable acts enumerated in Article 3. The Court considers that there is a correlation between the rights of members of groups protected under the Genocide Convention, the obligations incumbent on state parties thereto, and the right of any state party to seek compliance therewith by another state party. As the Court has stated in other cases, in order for acts to fall within the scope of Article 2 of the Convention, the intent must be to destroy at least a substantial part of a particular group. This is demanded by the very nature of the crime of genocide, since the object and purpose of the Convention as a whole is to prevent the intentional destruction of groups. The part targeted must be significant enough to have an impact on the group as a whole. The Palestinians appear to constitute a distinct national, ethnical, racial, or religious group, and hence a protected group within the meaning of Article 2 of the Genocide Convention. The Court observes that, according to United Nations sources, the Palestinian population in the Gaza Strip comprises over 2 million people. Palestinians in the Gaza Strip form a substantial part of the protected group. The Court notes that the military operation being conducted by Israel following the attack of 7 October 2023 has resulted in a large number of deaths and injuries, as well as massive destruction of homes, the forcible displacement of the vast majority of the population, and extensive damage to civilian infrastructure. While figures relating to the Gaza Strip cannot be independently verified, recent information indicates that 25,700 Palestinians have been killed, over 63,000 injuries have been reported, over 360 housing units have been destroyed or partially damaged, and approximately 1.7 million persons have been internally displaced. The Court takes note in this regard of the statement by the United Nations Undersecretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, Mr. Martin Griffiths, on 5 January 2024. I quote, "Gaza has become a place of death and despair. Families are sleeping in the open as temperatures plummet. Areas where civilians were told to relocate for their safety have come under bombardment. Medical facilities are under relentless attack. A public health disaster is unfolding. Gaza has simply become uninhabitable. Its people are witnessing daily threats to their very existence while the world watches on." End of quote. Following a mission to North Gaza, the World Health Organization reported that as of 21 December 2023, I quote, "an unprecedented 93% of the population of Gaza is facing crisis levels of hunger, with insufficient food and high levels of malnutrition." End of quote. The Court further notes the statement issued by the Commissioner General of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, or UNRWA, Mr. Philippe Lazzarini, on 13 January 2024. I quote, "It's been 100 days since the devastating war started, killing and displacing people in Gaza following the horrific attacks that Hamas and other groups carried out against people in Israel. It's been 100 days of ordeal and anxiety for hostages and their families. In the past 100 days, sustained bombardment across the Gaza Strip caused the massive displacement of a population that is in a state of flux, constantly uprooted and forced to leave overnight, only to move to places which are just as unsafe. This war affected more than 2 million people, the entire population of Gaza. Many will carry lifelong scars, both physical and psychological. The vast majority, including children, are deeply traumatized. Overcrowded and unsanitary UNRWA shelters have become home to more than 1.4 million people. They lack everything, from food to hygiene to privacy. People live in inhumane conditions where diseases are spreading, including among children. They live through the unlivable with the clock ticking fast towards famine. The plight of children in Gaza is especially heartbreaking. An entire generation of children is traumatized and will take years to heal. Thousands have been killed, maimed, and orphaned. Hundreds of thousands are deprived of education. Their future is in jeopardy with far-reaching and long-lasting consequences. The UNRWA Commissioner General also stated that the crisis in Gaza is, I quote, compounded by dehumanizing language, end of quote. In this regard, the court has taken note of a number of statements made by senior Israeli officials. It calls attention in particular to the following examples. On 9 October 2023, Mr. Yoav Gallant, Defense Minister of Israel, announced that he had ordered a complete siege
for a global community in which a resort to arms is no longer easy. A resort to abuse is no longer easy. And that more effort is now directed toward negotiation and toward seeking peaceful means of ending conflict. Well, as far as I understand the convention, states are members, states are signatories, and you bring actions with reference to states, not to particular groups.
But has Hamas behaved genocidally?
Well, I believe that what has been done by Hamas is certainly caused great harm, and I do think that the hostages should be freed, and that's what we must focus on.
Madam Minister,
Okay,
do you believe that the decision of the court will help, let's say, in solving the problem of the Israeli aggression against Palestinians today, and in the short term, maybe can help finding a political solution to the conflict between the Palestinian people and the Israeli occupation?
well, my hope is that we will begin to move toward a process where substantively a two-state solution is being discussed. The people of Palestine have suffered harm for many, many decades. I don't believe it will end today or tomorrow. But what we've done is a very clear signal has been sent by the court. And it's now a test for the government and people of Israel as to whether they will act in a manner that says all of us must respect international law.
Could you tell me?
Implications for international law.
Hello.
Well, if Israel acts in accord with it, I think the implications are for a future hopeful world. Should it not, then essentially we are opening up room for all abusers in many conflicts throughout the world. And I think we'll be setting a terrible, terrible precedent. So what all of us should do is call on Israel to act in terms of the decision.
But will you sever ties with Israel, or are you preserving ties with Israel?
I don't think it's a matter of South Africa and Israel here. The real issue, all your questions are about Israel, but the real issue is the people of Palestine who are being killed every day. The people of Palestine who are sleeping in the cold. The people of Palestine who are denied food, water, and energy. That is the critical issue that all of us should focus upon.
And on that note, we're going to ask the Vice Foreign Minister of...
With the people of Palestine, we stand with the people of Palestine, and our message to them is never give up hope. South Africa got over the apartheid oppression. They will overcome.
And for that, we'll ever be grateful, Your Excellency.
Thank you.
Allow me to start by saying that we concur with everything that Her Excellency, the Minister of International Cooperation of South Africa, Naledi Pandor, has stated in front of all of you, and to read a message from the Palestinian Palestinian people on this very important day. This is a historic day. Palestine welcomes the momentous order by the International Court of Justice. This order means that the court recognized the gravity of the situation and was convinced by South Africa's compelling presentation that was based on law and fact that there are plausible cause to believe that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. It means that the cries and suffering of our people in Gaza have been heard in the great hall of justice. Israel failed. It failed to convince the court to dismiss the complaint to prove that it is not deliberately violating Genocide Convention. The ICJ judges assessed the facts and the law and issued their order. Israel now will stand trial accused of committing the crime of all crimes. We call on states to ensure that all provisional measures ordered by the court are implemented. States and governments have clear obligations in light of this order. First and foremost, they must make sure they are not complicit in this genocide. This is a good day for humanity. This ruling is in favor of international system based on law and against exceptionalism and double standards. It should be a wake-up call for Israel and its enablers. The state of Palestine will undertake every endeavor to follow up on this important ruling by the courts towards ensuring the rights of the Palestinian people and ensuring justice. To this end, and with deep conviction in the rule of law, we will continue pursuing accountability and justice in all forms, including in the few weeks' time when we return here to the ICJ on the 19th of February for the oral hearings and the advisory opinion proceedings on Israel's illegal occupation and the regime inside the occupied Palestinian territory. This illegal occupation and apartheid regime must be brought to an end. Palestine will forever be grateful to South Africa for taking this bold step of active solidarity. Together with peace-loving nations, we will continue to work to stop genocide, hold perpetrators to account, and work to stop all other atrocities against our people. Just few words in Arabic, and I'll conclude my statement and open the way for questions and answers. هذا يوم تاريخي لفلسطين والإنسانية جمعاء. ترحب فلسطين بقرار محكمة العدل الدولية الحاسم فيما يخص الإجراءات الاحترازية الواجبة بخصوص الشكوى المقدمة من جمهورية جنوب أفريقيا حول الإبادة الجماعية التي تشنها إسرائيل على الشعب الفلسطيني في قطاع غزة. هذا يعني أن إسرائيل ستحاكم في قادم الأيام بتهمة الإبادة الجماعية وانتهاكات أخرى لمعاهدة الإبادة الجماعية في أعلى سلطة قضائية في العالم. لقد فشلت إسرائيل في التهرب من المساءلة، فشلت في تبرير ما ترتكبه من فظائع. قضاة محكمة العدل الدولية قيموا ما قدم لهم من حقائق ووقائع ومعطيات قانونية من قبل جنوب أفريقيا، ولم يتأثروا بمحاولة دولة الاحتلال لتسييس ما قدمته أو تحريف أو أكاذيب. هذا الحكم هو انتصار للقانون الدولي والإنسانية ورفض واضح للفوضى والمعايير المزدوجة. هذه رسالة واضحة لدولة الاحتلال وداعميها بأن لا أحد فوق القانون أو خارج نطاق المساءلة. لقد ولت complicit in any of the crimes that Israel is committing in the Gaza Strip, not to provide any assistance to these crimes, and to hold Israel to account while it makes these crimes.
So do you believe that South African minister said if Israel was to comply with the ruling, it did in fact, even though it wasn't specified, it means they have to have a
The order cannot be implemented in any way, shape, or form.
How do you transport humanitarian aid without a ceasefire?
Exactly.
How would you provide water, access to energy? How do you ensure
Civilians are
that
not
those who are
casualties.
injured have health care and so on? Without a ceasefire, none of these things can be done. So if you read the order by implication, a ceasefire must happen.
Yes. The order cannot be implemented in any way, shape, or form without a ceasefire. It's as simple as that. I think in each and every aspect of the order, there is a call for a ceasefire.
And Minister, do you think President Biden is going to get that message?
Well, I'm not President Biden, so I can't answer for him. I think you'll have to ask him. But I'm sure, as a humanitarian, he would support any action that seeks to save the lives of others.
And it is a duty on countries to implement. They have an obligation under the Genocide Convention. They cannot escape that.
معالي السفير، ألا تخشى مثلا أن المحكمة لم تعلن مباشرة وقف إطلاق النار؟ أليست خيبة أمل بالنسبة لكم؟
على الإطلاق، كل ما في الأمر هو يدعو إلى وقف إطلاق النار. لا يمكن تنفيذ أمر المحكمة اليوم من دون وقف إطلاق النار، ويجب على إسرائيل أن تبرر نفسها خلال شهر من الآن لماذا لم ينفذ أمر المحكمة. ودون وقف إطلاق النار لا يمكن أن ينفذ أمر المحكمة، لا يمكن إيصال المساعدات الإنسانية، لا يمكن تقليل ومنع الخسائر بين المدنيين، لا يمكن وقف الدمار وما ترتكبه، وكل ذلك كان في أمر المحكمة. لذلك وقف إطلاق النار هو عنصر رئيسي في كل جزء من قرار المحكمة.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
I'm from Tunisia, and I'm sure you honored Nelson Mandela.
Yes.
Honored your country. Thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much.
Let's get this one. Let's go. Back.
make some tough decisions. Free Gaza! Not only from their public opinion. See, because from the river to the sea! This case is about South Africa. Palestine will be free! Global South. Taking up a case where from the sea to the river, accepted on the West, instituted Israel, basically genocide against the Palestinians. If the Western world is not going to take measures, Palestine will be free. Today, themselves, driven by moral consideration as much as by narcissistic. Palestine will live forever. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Gaza. Free, free Palestine. Free, free Gaza! Stop the genocide! Stop the genocide! Stop the genocide! Stop the genocide! Gaza, don't you cry! Palestine will never die! Gaza, don't you cry! Palestine will never die! A bit, yeah. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! From the river to the sea! Free, free Palestina! Free, free Palestina! Oh, Palestina! Free, free Palestina! Ceasefire now! 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 Palestine will never die! Are you going to end? Don't you cry!
What is your reaction to what happened to the decision today? Was it something you were waiting or did it make you angry?
I honestly did not expect it. I honestly did not expect it because I know how Israel stands in front of Europe and the West. So I did not expect it at all, but I'm very happy with the result. And I don't think there's any denial anymore for the fact that it's a genocide that's happening. 25,000 people already died. They're under inhuman conditions. There's no denying that. And I think that the whole world saw it right now. I do think it's very urgent, and I'm very angry, of course, that it still has not happened since October, and that it came to this, 25,000 deaths and more than 50,000 injuries. I don't think we had to have a long time between this, and I think it should stop right now. Ceasefire, like you're hearing. Ceasefire right now. Give Palestinians the right that they deserve, their human rights. They deserve food, water, fuel. They deserve everything like we all do. And I think it should stop right now. Oh, okay. It's okay. No, it's okay. But is the camera not working or is the microphone not working? Oh, it's working now. I am very happy about what I heard. I think it's a step forward, for a ceasefire that we're all demanding right now. I think by step we'll come where we want to be, even though it's already too late, in my opinion. There are already 25,000 deaths and 60,000 injured people, and it is not stopping. It's continuing every day. So, yeah, I think it's very important. Yeah, of course it makes me upset that there's still no ceasefire now, but I think it's a step forward, and I really hope that a ceasefire will be there as soon as possible.
Occupation no more. Occupation no more. 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. Israel is terror state. Israel is terror state. Israel is terror state. Israel is terror state. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Occupation no more. Occupation no more. 5, 6, 7, 8.
You know which channel it is?
USA! How many kids did you kill today? Israel! USA! How many kids did you kill today?
Associated Press.
From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the river will be free! From the sea to the river! From the sea to the river! Palestine will live forever! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Netanyahu, you can hide! Netanyahu, you can hide! You are part of genocide! You are part of genocide! Israel, USA, how many kids did you kill today? Israel, USA, how many kids did you kill today? Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! 1, 2, 3, 4! 1, 2, 3, 4! Occupation no more! Occupation no more! 5, 6, 7, 8! 5, 6, 7, 8! Israel is terror state! Israel is terror state! Israel is a terror state! Israel is a terror state! Israel is a terror state! Stop the genocide! Stop the genocide! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! From the sea to the river! From the sea to the river! Palestine will live forever! From the sea to the river! From the sea to the river! Palestine will live forever! Palestine will live forever! From the river to the sea! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free! Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry! Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry! Palestine will never die! Palestine will never die! Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry! Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry! Palestine will never die! Palestine will never die! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Ceasefire now! 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 Ceasefire now!
We still have to hear when exactly, but the
Viva, viva Palestina!
We're waiting to hear the exact time at which they will come out of the court to give a speech to you. Until that time, we are going to stay here. Today we heard some good, but no fucking ceasefire, so please make yourself very, very loud. What do we want? Ceasefire! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Ceasefire! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Ceasefire! Now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
Yeah.
Yes. Ah, yes. Oh, this is so
Oh, what's happening? I'm finding a way to get out of here. Yeah, yeah. We just, the South African ministry is speaking.
International bodies ensuring that they exercise their responsibility to protect us all as global citizens. All member states of the United Nations have attached their signatures to a range of instruments. But when lives are threatened, these instruments are not brought to bear. And South Africa had the view that we could not stand idly by and continue to observe the
The report so provided shall then be communicated to South Africa, which shall be given the opportunity to submit to the court its comments thereon. The court recalls that its orders on provisional measures under Article 41 of the statute have binding effect and thus create international legal obligations for any party to whom the provisional measures are addressed. The court reaffirms that the decision given in the present proceedings in no way prejudges the question of the jurisdiction of the court to deal with the merits of the case or any questions related to the admissibility of the application or to the merits themselves. It leaves unaffected the right of the governments of the Republic of South Africa and the State of Israel to submit arguments in respect of these questions. The order then states that the court deems it necessary to emphasize that all parties to the conflict in the Gaza Strip are bound by international humanitarian law. It is gravely concerned about the fate of the hostages abducted during the attack in Israel on 7 October 2023 and held since then by Hamas and other armed groups, and calls for their immediate and unconditional release. I shall now read out the operative part of the order. For these reasons, the court indicates the following provisional measures. 1. By 15 votes to 2, the State of Israel shall, in accordance with its obligations under the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in relation to the Palestinians in Gaza, take all measures within its power to prevent the commission of all acts within the scope of Article 2 of the Convention, in particular, A, killing members of the group, B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, and D, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group. In favor, President Donoghue, Vice President Gevorgian, Judges Tomka, Abraham, Benuna, Yusuf, Shway, Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Charlesworth, Brandt, Judge Ad hoc Moseneke. Against, Judge Sebatinde, Judge Ad hoc Barak. By 15 votes to 2, the State of Israel shall ensure with immediate effect that its military does not commit any acts described in point 1 above. In favor, President Donoghue, Vice President Gevorgian, Judges Tomka, Abraham, Benuna, Yusuf, Shway, Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Charlesworth, Brandt, Judge Ad hoc Moseneke. Against, Judge Sebatinde, Judge Ad hoc Barak. By 16 votes to 1, the State of Israel shall take all measures within its power to prevent and punish the direct and public incitement to commit genocide in relation to members of the Palestinian group in the Gaza Strip. In favor, President Donoghue, Vice President Gevorgian, Judges Tomka, Abraham, Benuna, Yusuf, Shway, Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Charlesworth, Brandt, Judges Ad hoc Barak, Moseneke. Against, Judge Sebatinde. By 16 votes to 1, the State of Israel shall take immediate and effective measures to ensure the provision of urgently needed basic services and humanitarian assistance to address the adverse conditions of life faced by Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. In favor, President Donoghue, Vice President Gevorgian, Judges Tomka, Abraham, Benuna, Yusuf, Shway, Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Charlesworth, Brandt, Judges Ad hoc Barak, Moseneke. Against, Judge Sebatinde. By 15 votes to 2, the State of Israel shall take effective measures to prevent the destruction and ensure the preservation of evidence related to allegations of acts within the scope of Article 2 and Article 3 of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide against members of the Palestinian group in the Gaza Strip. In favor, President Donoghue, Vice President Gevorgian, Judges Tomka, Abraham, Benuna, Yusuf, Shway, Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Charlesworth, Brandt, Judge Ad hoc Moseneke. Against, Judge Sebatinde, Judge Ad hoc Barak. By 15 votes to 2, the State of Israel shall submit a report to the court on all measures taken to give effect to this order within 1 month as from the date of the order. In favor, President Donoghue, Vice President Gevorgian, Judges Tomka, Abraham, Benuna, Yusuf, Shway, Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Charlesworth, Brandt, Judge Ad hoc Moseneke. Against, Judge Sebatinde, Judge Ad hoc Barak. I shall now call upon the registrar to read the operative part of the order in French.
Par ces motifs, la Cour indique les mesures conservatoires suivantes. 1. Par 15 voix contre 2, l'État d'Israël doit, conformément aux obligations lui incombant au titre de la Convention pour la prévention et la répression du crime de génocide, prendre toutes les mesures en son pouvoir pour prévenir la commission, à l'encontre des Palestiniens de Gaza, de tout acte entrant dans le champ d'application de l'article 2 de la Convention, en particulier les actes suivants. A. Meurtre de membres du groupe. B. Atteinte grave à l'intégrité physique ou mentale de membres du groupe. C. Soumission intentionnelle du groupe à des conditions d'existence devant entraîner sa destruction physique totale ou partielle. Et D. Mesures visant à entraver les naissances au sein du groupe. Pour Madame Donoghue, présidente, Monsieur Gevorgyan, vice-président, Messieurs Tomka, Abraham, Benouna, Youssouf, Madame Choué, Messieurs Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Madame Charlesworth, Monsieur Brand, juge, Monsieur Moseneke, juge ad hoc. Contre, Madame Sebutinde, juge, Monsieur Barak, juge ad hoc. 2. Par 15 voix contre 2, l'État d'Israël doit veiller avec effet immédiat à ce que son armée ne commette aucun des actes visés au point 1 ci-dessus. Pour Madame Donoghue, présidente, Monsieur Gevorgyan, vice-président, Messieurs Tomka, Abraham, Benouna, Youssouf, Madame Choué, Messieurs Bandari, Robinson, Salam, Iwasawa, Nolte, Madame Charlesworth, Monsieur Brand, juge, Monsieur Moseneke, juge ad hoc. Contre, Madame Sebutinde, des juges, Monsieur Barak, juge ad hoc. 3. Par 16 voix contre 1, l'État d'Israël doit prendre toutes les mesures en son pouvoir pour prévenir et punir l'incitation directe et publique à commettre le génocide à l'encontre des